everybody! I'm back on BookTube. All this KallMeKris drama has prompted me to come back over because there are some important things I feel like I need to say. I've started seeing content come into this space around the KallMeKris Spicy BookTok Drama and figured, as someone actually directly involved with what's going on, I would probably be a good person to explain what's happened, why it is people are taking umbrage, why people are upset with Kris right now, and also share what's happened to me over the last week, because it has been bonkers. For those of you who've never met me before, hi, I'm Christy, and I am a micro book influencer who mimics content over on TikTok. And this week, KallMeKris, a massive macro influencer, posted on this very platform a piece of content all around Spicy BookTok, the online community I am very much a member of. And it was controversial. Unfortunately, you won't be able to just find the video listed publicly because Kris has unlisted it on her profile. But if you want to, you definitely can find it in an unfortunately heavily redacted version. We'll talk about what's happened and why. But if you're joining the conversation at this point, you're not going to be able to get a great deal of clarity on what it was that upsetted people because Kris has cropped it out of her content. I'm having lots of conversations over on TikTok at the minute about why was this offensive? I've watched the video without any awareness that a good 5-6 minutes of that video are now completely gone. And the title has been changed, I believe, 9 times to date. So let's go back to the very beginning. Talk about the content Kris made, why it is problematic, and how I have managed with my teeny tiny platform to catch Kris's attention over on TikTok and thus be a part of this massive online wave of criticism of Kris and her behaviour, both in terms of making her video, but also afterwards. As a hint, that's where I start coming in. So let's go. Let's discuss the drama with KallMeKris and the Spicy BookTok community right now, from the perspective of someone who's involved. Now, last week, KallMeKris, a massive creator on this platform and TikTok, posted a long-form YouTube video that was about 40 minutes long, all about Spicy BookTok, the books that are being promoted in that space, and the people who are reading and discussing them. Kris read several books that she claims were recommended to her on her For You page, and goes through sharing criticisms of each, whilst lambasting, mocking, and criticising those who choose to read those books. The piece was intended to be comedic. Kris herself has said that several times, but those she was mocking are very much upset, myself included. Now, the video was up for a couple of days before I got the chance to see it back in its original form. It did not have its original title when I watched the video, but none of the content had actually been redacted yet. So after watching this video in my house, I literally had it cast up onto the TV in front of me, then picked up my mobile phone and recorded a rather emotional TikTok video sharing my upset, my displeasure, and stating that I would be unfollowing KallMeKris as a result of what she had said about the community I belong to in her most recent YouTube video. My video was created completely on the fly. It's hardly edited, and you know it's not something that I have thought about a great deal because I'm not wearing any makeup in it at all. It's poorly lit. It is just me. So moved by what I've just seen and the attitudes and the casual misogyny expressed that I was prompted to create a response, not expecting many people to see it, expecting it to stick really within my own small following within the BookTok community. But spoiler, that didn't happen. So here is the video I made pretty much straight from seconds between finishing Kris's video and speaking as I am right here.
I have just watched a massive creator who I have loved for a really long time absolutely rip into like everything I like to read, just with no actual comprehension of why it is people read spicy books, just coming in with some of the most girls takes on something I care so much about, something that is a really important social, economic, emotional topic. Just a nearly 40-minute YouTube video of some of the most awful takes books. I'm so disappointed. I'm actually upset. This has really bummed me out. Because I don't like unfollowing anybody, but I'm going to have to because, yeah, it was bad. Really, really bad. And for anyone interested, romance as a literary genre is a literal safe space. That's why women like it. Spice, no spice, romance is really, really important. I don't just say that as a BookTok content creator. I say that with the whole weight of my English literature degree behind me. Yeah, I'm not okay. This is awful. A massive loss for women today. As if we needed more. As if we needed more negative stuff. Just go on the internet and trash other women and what they like, and use other content creators' videos without any acknowledgement or permission or consent. Yeah. Just say that you hate women, you know?
Now, I have the wherewithal and the self-reflective capacity to admit that that is a very emotional video. It's very much recorded in the heat of the moment. I don't really pull my punches, but I stand by everything that I say in that video. That is how I felt in that moment. And I think the things that I state as fact are factually correct in that. But I posted that video, went upstairs and had a bath, during which the people I actually intended to see the video did see the video. My friends, my following. I maybe had 10 comments on that video before I went to bed. And they were all from people I know, people I'm familiar with. It stayed very much within my teeny tiny pool of the internet. However, whilst I slept, Kris saw this video. Now, I think from watching the video, you can tell that I didn't necessarily intend for Kris to see this. I am speaking directly to my following, which is infinitesimally small compared to hers. And I did not @ or tag Kris in any way. What I did do was use the hashtag KallMeKris, which I figured was a pretty generic one. It is literally the topic I am talking about, and I felt that was relatively fair. It's not the digital equivalent of like knocking on someone's door and saying, hey, this is about you, that tagging or an @ would be. But Kris was obviously looking to see what content was being made about her on TikTok. It may have been that my video came up on her For You page because KallMeKris' hashtag she obviously keeps an eye on. Either way, she came to my content, not the other way around. And this is what she chose to write in my comments. We're going to loop back to this, but KallMeKris chose to speak directly to me about my points, what I said, and how I was feeling. And I'll admit, when I woke up and saw the sheer volume of engagement my little video had, I was overcome with a wave of despair. You have that immediate moment of, oh no, I've messed up. So before work, very early in the morning, I came out here and filmed a second video, really explaining in more detail what had upset me. In fact, why don't I just play you what it is I said? And this is recorded with the knowledge that lots of people had seen my previous video, that people were feeling very much the same way as me, but that there were people who simply weren't understanding why any offence had been caused at all. And knowing that Kris had seen what I said. And in the interim between video 1 and video 2, so during the night while I slept, obviously Kris is in a different time zone to me here in England, the element of this entire drama that I think warrants the highest criticism occurred because Kris went on to videos like mine and was commenting. I haven't gone and actively sought out Kris's comments on other people's content, but I have been told by people that have that, in their opinion, the comments she made on my video were maybe the worst. But that's their opinion, not necessarily mine, because I haven't seen what else it was Kris was doing anywhere outside of her own content, where I see what comments she liked, how she responded to comments in her own comment section. But she edited her video. Between my video 1 and video 2 that I'm going to play for you, she chopped maybe 6 minutes out of her video. She removed the Grammarly sponsorship and she changed the video title several times. By the time this video went live, Kris's TikTok video title had changed 4 different times. I wasn't aware that before I'd even watched it, she'd changed it 3. The difference was the 3 prior to me watching the video were gradually more and more offensive, and the amends made overnight were done to chip away at the inflammatory nature, both of the content itself and its title. So this is how I started day 2 of my involvement in this drama. This is what I rushed to the internet to say as quickly and fairly and in the most articulate way I could at the time, knowing there was a bit of time pressure to get something out while this machine had started moving. The casual, dismissive nature in which it's done is problematic. I woke up this morning to my video having gone a little bit bananas overnight, so I thought I would just address a couple of the things people are bringing up in the comments and really laser in the one thing I find most problematic about KallMeKris's recent YouTube video. For those of you who haven't seen my previous video, I do recommend going and watching it. It was quite an emotional take. I recorded it straight after watching the YouTube video, went upstairs, had a bubble bath, replied to the first few comments that came in, mainly from my friends, and went to bed to wake up to an eruption of sorts, because Kris saw my video and was engaging with people in the comments. Now I regret perhaps not taking the opportunity when I did to be as articulate as I could have about what in her content was problematic and genuinely upset me. That very well may be the only video of mine Kris ever sees, and I feel like that was a real opportunity missed, and I'm sad that I didn't take the time to create a more articulate initial response video, and the one that's really emotional is the one that gained traction. So for clarity's sake, what I am about to play and share with you all is the snippet of Kris's most recent YouTube video that I find the most incorrect, the most harmful, and the most upsetting to hear.
But it's quite literally just straight up corn. It's corn.
Because this is a false equivalency, it's just factually untrue, and it's a common take, it's a hot take, people think it's funny, but it's incredibly damaging to romance as a genre, because corn has a literary equivalent. It's called erotica, and it's a set subgenre of romance. Very much like corn, erotica is about getting to the action as quickly as possible, and it does not have a complex narrative plot to it. It's about getting nasty. Spicy books are not erotica. Even some of the super spicy 5 chili peppers books that we talk about here on this app are not technically erotica. And if we're doing the equivalency of written to video medium, the equivalent of spicy books are shows with adult scenes in them. And if you would not look someone in the eyes and say, Game of Thrones is corn, then you have no right at all to call spicy books corn either. The fact that there are adult scenes means that it isn't appropriate for people of all ages to be engaging with. That's a take of Kris's that I 100% agree with. I think she has valid criticisms of a lot of the marketing, some of the content, certainly the distribution of spicy books here in this space. But by calling spicy books corn, you are contributing to the demeaning, misogynistic, and harmful rhetoric about an area of majorly non-male interest. And the casual misogyny imbued in mocking and making fun of something that is predominantly for a group like that is a bad take. And I think the people criticising that element of what's been said are absolutely in the right. You're allowed to call a bad take if you disagree with it. And that's where I take real umbrage at what's been made and put out on the internet to millions of followers. It's casual misogyny, it's factually incorrect. And while it is all done totally with a humorous, funny lens, the casual, dismissive nature in which it's done is problematic, and it's allowed to be. Kris is allowed to make whatever content she wants, and my video was very much about how hurtful I found a creator that I have loved for a really long time making a video like that, and my content was very much about my personal response to how upsetting Kris's take was to me. It may have been funny, it may have been done with humour, but I do think there is a line where wisecracking and humour goes over into mockery, and Kris was really straddling that line. Sometimes she sat either side, but the times when she crossed over were really, really upsetting. Now, one of the things I've seen Kris say in my comments is that she simply won't review things anymore, and that is a shame, and that's not what I want anyone to take away from the current drama that is evolving within the BookTok space around this particular piece of content. But I do think a lot of the issues with it stem from genuine ignorance, and of all the places things can stem, I consider ignorance the most forgivable, because it can be rectified with education and an apology. There is an art and a lot of unspoken but also spoken rules about reviewing and critiquing books as a medium here and over on BookTube that I just don't think Kris was aware of. She was very open at the beginning of her video about not having been a part of the BookTok community and about being open and willing to try. The books that were being recommended to her by her algorithm, BookTok was brought to her rather than her seeking it out. And she tried a few books. And then sharing your opinion on those books, totally valid. But it's when we stray away from opinion and stating elements as fact, especially elements that are dismissive and derogatory and mocking in tone, that we veer away from the established acceptable way of reviewing books and talking about authors and other readers within the space. It just wasn't very nice. And I think that's what hurt me most. I've always thought Kris was a really nice person, and I do think a lot of this video is just not hitting the mark right, but the impression I got was not one of kindness and understanding. And this is my opinion, but whatever floats your boat. We have made such a concerted effort over the last few years to get more people reading whatever it is that they find joy in. There is so much shame imbued in more female-centric pursuits like reading. And it starts with the way that we talk about and address fan culture within girls. The dismissive, condescending way we talk about girls enjoying fan groups. We use the word mass hysteria. Grows and evolves into this space where we dismiss and deride anything with which women, or majorly women, I'm speaking in a very binary and general sense here, take pleasure, is inherently problematic and sad and unfortunate, and it needs to be called out when it happens, because most people don't do it intentionally. I think a lot of the misogyny that can be seen in content like this video of Kris's is totally unintentional. And some of the things people are saying, even within my own comments threads, I think is nasty. And the upsetting thing about the content was that it was a bit nasty. So let those of us in glass houses not throw stones. There's no need to be mean. I just wish people were a little bit kinder, both in the content they're creating, the way that they are engaging with people who are watching their content, and perhaps give a little bit of grace. I was very upset last night after just watching Kris's video, and the content I made was about my upset, my decision to unfollow, my opinions on what it was Kris had made, and expressing my disappointment that a creator of that size would behave in such a way. That is absolutely not a rallying cry for people to be horrible and nasty. If you're going to call out someone for being a bit mean, the response directly being mean is totally unnecessary. And there are plenty of comments that this app's AI has flagged, sent me for review, and that will never see the light of day. So let's all just be a little bit kinder. Kris has already amended the title of her video. It was originally "These viral TikTok smut books are really gross." And if you haven't watched the content, I'm not going to recommend you do, but I think that initial title encapsulates quite fully the tone that is set throughout the video, which just slides too far into mockery for me to enjoy any of it at all. And it's a shame, because Kris had some really valid criticisms, points that people just like me have been making for a while, and they have got sullied and missed because she went for a humorous, jokey tone that absolutely did not fit the subject matter at all. You can totally be funny. You can totally criticise the things that Kris wanted to criticise in her video. She just went too far to one side of the spectrum. And it's a shame, because a creator of that size talking about these things should be a brilliant opportunity for all of us. But when given that opportunity, kind of punching down, which is what I personally feel it was, you are totally allowed to disagree, I felt was a real shame. I hope I don't have to make any more videos about this. I was not expecting Kris to really see yesterday's video or for it to blow up as much as it did, and I hope Kris does get to see this, because I feel like yesterday's video didn't encapsulate what it was that I took umbrage with, that I felt was problematic, and had any opportunity to be educational at all, whereas that is very much the aim of this video.
Now, I don't think it's crazy for me to say, in hindsight, that I was being very nice in this video. My primary concern here was that I hadn't articulated myself well in my first video, and that I had an opportunity at that moment in time to explain better what was wrong with Kris's content. Now, this is a long form piece of video, so I'm going to get to expand on my thoughts here. But as we're going through the timeline, this is very much where I stood at the beginning of day 2. By the time I got to my lunch hour with work, my opinion had changed slightly in regard to KallMeKris and this spicy BookTok drama, because I was made aware of the fact that not only had Kris edited her video, changed titles, commented on videos like mine, but that she had written a pinned comment for her YouTube video, a statement, if you will, directly in response to seeing content like mine. In fact, I can say not even content like mine, she saw my content. So I recorded very quickly in my lunch hour my response to Kris's pinned comment. And what you'll see as we go through my videos is me oscillating from kind of one extreme to the other. Me being very understanding and defensive, kind of-ish, of Kris, because I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to behave the way I think big creators like Kris should behave, to then realising, actually, maybe I'm being a little naive here. Maybe I'm a bit of a mug for being the nice one. And this video is very much in that vein, because Kris addressed me, and I explained that and how I feel in this video.
Let's discuss the pinned comment on KallMeKris's most recent YouTube video about spicy book talk, as I've obviously got opinions on it. Now, for anyone wondering if I am jumping on some kind of hate bandwagon, I want to be super clear that this pinned comment and the amends Kris has subsequently made to her video are removing almost 5 minutes of the video itself and renaming the video file several times, have all happened since Kris engaged with my content surrounding my personal reaction to watching that video for the first time. She opens her pinned comment by saying, "Hey guys, I know the majority of you loved the video and I appreciate that so much, but I wanted to address the people who are taking any offence to it and clarify a few things." I think I am safe in saying that this is directed at, well, me. I know she watched my video. She knows I am in this pool of people. So this is a great opportunity for things to be genuinely clarified, and in the video I posted this morning, before I was aware of this new pinned comment, I was championing giving some grace and simply highlighting the specific thing that had really upset me that she brought up in her video. This is my personal opinion of these books. I read them and liked aspects of them, but overall these particular books just weren't for me. But, like I said in the video, if you liked them, then it's totally cool with me. I don't care at all. We'll just pause there. I don't think that point was stressed very clearly in her video. I have said I feel that the tone throughout was mocking, but she is totally entitled to share her own opinions on media that she has consumed. I talked in my last video on the topic about how we here in the books community have some unspoken but kind of spoken rules about how we behave, how we review, and as someone who is not a member of that community, I championed giving creators like Kris a bit of grace in terms of not knowing the ways in which we specifically go about reviewing books. But the final element of this paragraph, Kris says, "That video was not remotely meant to shame anyone, and it's why I said it multiple times in the video, so I'm sorry if you took offence for any reason." Now, this is different than saying, "I'm sorry I caused offence." So yeah, I've gone from the upset of yesterday to the clarity, the preaching of rising above today, my more educational, informative POV to being upset yet again. I'm sorry if you took offence. I totally understand that it's comedy, but you have caused offence, and in my previous video I outlined quite clearly why what Kris says in her video is misogynistic and problematic, and explain why. I explain how that's a problem. I'm a comedy creator, and this video was meant as just that, a light-hearted comedy review. If you didn't find it funny or entertaining, that's totally fine. Your opinion, just like not liking a few spicy novels, is mine. I still think comedy can cause offence, and if that is the aim of it, own it. You know, if it's, I made a joke and I don't care if you're upset, then just say that. I used the phrase in my previous video about it feeling mean-spirited and like punching down. And if you weren't successfully funny, then you lose the guise of comedic protection there. It just sucks. And then she contradicts a point that she'd made in her video, and that I mean, even in this video was inclined to champion giving grace for, because I do in fact like a lot of spicy romance books. They're a great escape and can be beautifully written, and I completely get why there's an entire spicy BookTok community. So my whole argument, my whole ethos of this isn't a space Kris is familiar with, she's not a massive reader, BookTok came to her rather than the other way around, ignorance as a rapper, she's kind of removed there. So I feel like the defense I put up is just getting chipped away at. I'd also like to address the creators clips used in the video. Now, I brought this up. Any YouTuber can use any content on the internet under the copyright laws of fair use. It's only an issue if you're using content in full replacement of the original content, which is not the case here. Otherwise, I would have received multiple copyright strikes, which I haven't and won't. I think people are confused by that, and I just want to clarify. Commentary, review, reaction channels wouldn't exist without the fair use law. Just because something's legal doesn't make it right or nice. I think what Kris should have done is simply have the ats of those creators visible in the tiny little clips that she used. It's what ITV News did to me when they used my content, and it meant that I was totally fine with them doing that because they gave me credit for the piece of content that I had made. Nowhere in the actual video or in this pinned comment or the initial description of the video, which I did screenshot at the time, does Kris give acknowledgement of those sources. She doesn't cite where she got that footage from, and so those creators and the people criticising this behaviour just because it seems to be normalised and legally it's totally fine to do, it's not nice. And that is the main accusation going on here, right? I think I myself said it. It's just not nice behaviour. That's what you're being criticised for this video as a whole. Lastly, I read these books because they intrigued me after seeing them on my FYP for so long, and I also thought it would make for an interesting video. In reading them, I found parts that I liked and parts that made me a bit uncomfortable, and I was just being honest in giving my personal opinion. Personally, after being essayed myself, I find it difficult to enjoy a couple of these books that contain those acts. Not saying all of them do though, of course, but I'm entitled to that opinion, which she totally is. She's totally right to come online, share an opinion. I just don't think she should have done it in the manner and tone that she did. And after reading those, I probably won't reread them or recommend them. Art is subjective. You can like and enjoy something I don't, and again, I don't care if you do, like I mentioned in the video. I just think if the tone hadn't been so inflammatory and condescending and negative and dismissive, this video would have been fine. I do think Kris should have at least acknowledged where she got the other creator video clips from that she used in her video, but lots of other creators don't. It's a criticism I would lay at all creators' feet who do that, but I was really disappointed by this. That phrase that I take the most umbrage to is, I'm sorry you took offence for any reason, because there's no accountability here. And that's one of the things that I stressed in my previous video when I talked about being ignorant and saying it's the easiest thing in the world to forgive, it's the easiest thing to rectify, because all you need is education and an apology. And there is no accountability here. There is, I'm sorry you took offence, I'm sorry you didn't like what I had to say, because it just follows this thread of being a little bit nasty, of being mean. And from what I've seen, the majority of those initial bits of criticism, including my own, are rooted in that sentiment that the video itself is just a bit nasty. It's not nice. And I read this post and I don't think it's very nice either, and that just feeds into the reason why I shared in my initial video that I was choosing to unfollow Kris, who I have followed for years. I think you're totally right to be calling out problematic behaviour when you see it, and I'm not just going to sit back and allow someone with such a massive following to casually be so misogynistic and not at least chime up and say, oh, by the way, not cool, don't like that, I'm not going to follow you anymore. I don't want to perpetrate this hate train that's going on. I think it isn't particularly nice, but I also wanted to talk about this because it's kind of ish directed at me.
Honestly, I stand by what I say here. I think I was very nice in my video before this, and Kris's comment just showed exactly how she felt about people like me. It was really disheartening for me to read, and making that video was actually quite... Actually, I'd moved beyond being upset at this point. I was livid. So at this point, people over in the US and Canada all start coming online because our times are inverted. My morning has finished, I am in the afternoon, and they are all getting up that morning. This is the point at which Kris decided to unlist her video and record an apology in her car. Now, I'm going to play you Kris's full apology that I screen recorded the first time I saw it, and then show you my response to it, because so many people were immediately messaging, asking, Kristy, have you seen her apology? What do you think of what she said? Check out her TikTok right now. And I will admit something I hadn't thought of at the time, but was brought up to me, was that she chose to post this on TikTok, but did not post her original content, even small clips, little edited elements, anywhere on that space, which is me lining up a point I'm going to make later on in this video. But here is what KallMeKris decided to post that afternoon, evening, my time. Sort of too late for me to respond to it before going to bed. Here is her video.
So I made a YouTube video and I upset BookTok and just frigged up. For context, the video I made was a book review or multiple book reviews of books that I saw on BookTok, specifically more in the spicy category, in what some would categorize as smut. But I thought it would make for a really fun, interesting, lighthearted video. It was not meant to be serious in the least. And I posted that on Saturday, and it didn't go as I thought it would go. The first couple days it was posted, a lot of people loved the video and it got really positive reviews, but then I guess it made its way to BookTok, and the people from BookTok came to the video and they did not feel the same. My original intention with the video was just to poke fun at the books, poke fun at myself, and also poke fun at just the genre in general, not thinking that it meant that much to people. But in reading the comments, I'm realizing that I just got the tip of the iceberg. I did not know how deep BookTok went, and that is on me. I did not do the proper research, and I didn't realize how close to people's heart that they kept these books. And I really did upset people, and that is not what I want to do at all. When I make a video, I want to entertain people and have fun, and I missed the mark. I tried to make jokes here and there, and some people liked them, but a lot of people didn't like them, and it's completely valid. I'm very lucky to have an audience that is so incredibly positive, which I'm very thankful for. So I'm not used to getting a mass amount of hate or criticism. So when I see those comments in mass, I panicked. Sorry, there was a jet. Anyway, I panicked, absolutely. I did a very human thing, a very flawed human thing, and I went fully into defense mode and was just trying to reassure people that I meant no shame or judgment, and that I thought that would help. But in doing so, it was just completely unproductive, and I just put fire to the flame. And when I should have been reading and retaining and then applying, I was just reading and reacting right away, when I should have just taken a step back and just realized why people were saying the things that they were saying. And it wasn't meant as hate towards me necessarily, at least the valid criticism. It was just meant for something for me to take into consideration, which I have now. I have taken down the video. It's unlisted, so you can go watch it yourself if you want. It's not monetized or anything, but I think it's important if people really want context. So I'll put that link in the comments if you do want to go watch it, because I think that's important. At the end of the day, I tried to do something with full intention of it being lighthearted, but I don't have an excuse as to why it came off so obtuse to a large group of people. And I just want to take that video and take your valid criticism and just apply it to my other videos. And I want to keep improving my content, and I never ever want to upset anyone, and I hope that everyone knows that. This isn't me just with my back against the wall. I really do care about not upsetting people. I genuinely was like, I don't know if it's best to just let this be or to talk about it. And I think talking about it is best, and just letting you know that I think you could read whatever you want. And I think that's awesome. And if it helps you, that's awesome. And if it's not for you, that's totally fine too. And I think the fact that reading is becoming more and more trendy is awesome. And that's part of the reason why I did the video, but it ended up just completely backfiring. Yeah, I just want everyone to know that all I can do is learn from this and apply it and do better. I still hold my opinions about the books themselves. They're not really for me. Some of them were actually pretty good. But the content, the extreme taboo, is just not for me. And I didn't realize how incredibly popular it was. I thought it was way more niche, so I know that now. And if you like it, cool. But I don't think making jokes about the community that enjoys those books, even if it's not meant to harm or shame or judge anyone, it is productive. And I'm just not gonna do that anymore. I don't think the review category or commentating category is probably for me. So I'll stick in my lane and learn from this whole situation. So I really appreciate if you watched this whole video. And let me know what kind of books that you're enjoying in the comments, because I'm really enjoying reading again, and I think it's really important. And I hope that all makes sense.
Now, as I've said, lots of people were asking me to respond to this piece of content, so I have documentation of how I felt at the time, knowing what I knew then. I wasn't necessarily aware of some of Kris's other online behaviours in the interim. What I had seen were the things that related directly to me. I saw the pinned comment she posted on her video, I saw the amends she made to her video, and then I watched that apology. And I felt it was important to go online and express how this was received by me, as I was one of the people that Kris had addressed in her pinned comment and had influenced the behaviours that had come before this. And I think, saying that, I was so nice about this. Don't worry, that attitude does not last very long, but here is the video that I chose to post in response to Kris's apology video on TikTok.
A lot of you might not like hearing this, but I'm actually very impressed by KallMeKris's apology.
I made a YouTube video and I upset BookTok and just frigged up.
I've said straight from the get-go that KallMeKris's take on Spicy BookTok that she posted on YouTube was misogynistic, it was inappropriate, it was punching down. But I felt her actions and her tone all stemmed from ignorance. And that in my opinion, of all the things negative behaviours can come from, ignorance is the most forgivable. I actually said, after recording my read through of the pinned comment on Kris's YouTube video, recording yesterday, what would be the best possible outcome going forward? And I was really tempted to film it and post it, and I thought, no, if I record this, I bet I will just stop it from happening. I bet that energy will prevent me successfully manifesting what I want to come out of this situation. But I said the best case scenario going forward was that Kris would issue an apology, learn from what it is that's happened, can't really ask for much more. So when this video went up last night, my time, here in the UK, I was quite moved, because it is very rare that people choose to do the right thing nowadays. And I do think we should try and focus on the end result rather than how we ended up getting here, because it's been a journey. The initial video was bad. It was misogynistic. Kris saw content like mine and started amending her YouTube video. She has made quite clear why. This did more harm than good, especially with the pinned comment she put on her YouTube video, kind of doubling down on this is comedy, I'm sorry that you've taken offence kind of angle. But the actions she's taken now, I do think remedy a lot of what's happened. Because all you can ask when someone has done something out of ignorance is that they learn from it and they apologise. From what she said, it does seem like Kris has learnt that what she did was wrong, and she seems to genuinely feel bad. You can disagree with me on that. You can watch that video however you want, but I'm going to choose to accept what's given to me and offer grace. There is only one thing that would have made her apology video better, because she's not acting like the video and the mistakes never happened. She has kept them unlisted on her profile, and you can go and find the edited, slightly redacted version of the video if you really want to. You know, we're not erasing the past. she's left it for context, and I respect that decision. If she deleted it completely, I'd be a bit like, each to their own, but I have so many people messaging me going, I can't see the video, what happened? But this is quite helpful. I just think this has created a real opportunity for us to discuss why these behaviours are wrong. And I'm going to actively choose to be grateful for the opportunity to have this discourse, rather than righteously furious that it had to happen in the first place. But that's the life of a feminist. It has been really heartening for me to see this community come together and call out bad behaviour when it happens, and really validating to have a creator like Kris here. Initially panic, admittedly. Initially start doing the not great stuff, but to come through clutch at the end and put their hands up and say, I messed up, I'm going to learn from this, I won't do it again. I think the only thing else that could be asked for is the word sorry. But in my opinion, the apology seems genuine to me. And she's directly taking accountability for the upset she's caused. And I'm content with that. The initial upset her content caused me, I feel like has been addressed. I feel heard, I feel validated, and I appreciate her for doing that. So many big creators don't. I've been made aware of similar style content from other people that I will definitely be looking into. But you've got to give props where it's due, and I massively respect Kris for hearing us and acting accordingly. I'm sure we're going to get loads of hot takes about how KallMeKris has been bullied into hiding her video, and the people that make that take are totally allowed to do so. I feel more like we vocalised our displeasure and it was heard, and I feel acknowledged. I feel listened to, and I can't ask for more than that. It is totally fine if you disagree with me, if you do not feel like this apology is enough. But as one of the creators whose content Kris saw that started this whole thing going, I have to say on a personal level, I appreciate being listened to. I appreciate sitting here today and feeling like I have affected change, that I spoke up and was heard. And actually, yeah, I'll get a little emotional about it, because this last day and a bit, there's been a lot from both sides, but I have met a lot of people with whom I obviously have a great deal in common. So I'm going to look at this entire endeavour with a positive outlook. If you are still hurt and you are still in your feelings, that is 100% valid. I just had to come on here and express how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and how I have taken this apology video. I want to give props to Kris as a large creator for listening to this community. Whether it's genuine or not, we'll see. We will see. And I may be naive in choosing to make the decisions I'm going to, but I'm going to hear what's said and take it at face value. I'm going to actively not choose cynicism this time, because this is the outcome I wanted. I don't want my pound of flesh in demanding the word sorry. I'm not going to get my knickers in a twist about that specifically. If she had said the word sorry in her apology video, I would 100% be like, this is brilliant. At the minute, it's just really, really good and very comforting and validating to see. Let me know your thoughts, because this entire discourse has really been about listening to people and hearing what they have to say. I hope you guys feel the way I do. If you don't, that's fine. At the end of her video, Kris asks for some recs. So I will be making that video. Obviously, I've got to go to the office, so it won't be until tomorrow. So let me know any intro to spicy BookTok books you think should make my list. I am a professional though, so I think I'm going to be able to create a really good list of books for Kris. I'm going to take this as a win. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling good now. Well done, Kris.
So yeah, basically I accepted her apology, I preached grace, asked people basically to forgive, and I then stepped back. I went about my day, I cracked on with a lot of other stuff, and it was only because I got so many alerts that people were trying to comment on Kris's comment on my initial video that I went back. Because what TikTok does is the AI flags certain comments that it's worried may be inflammatory or nasty in some way, and as a creator you are asked to review or delete the comments the AI decides there might be an issue with. So while lots of arguing was going on in the comments of my videos, every once in a while a comment would be flagged and no one can see it until I approve it and let it become visible. Which I know from personal experience, when you're having a conversation or a debate with somebody and the AI starts to try and step in, it can be really frustrating. It can literally chop you off mid-point if you've got to type small comments. So I was making a concerted effort as and when I could to simply go in and approve comments, because I don't think it's my place to censor what it is people want to be talking about online. You can talk about whatever you want, and people can judge you however they want for having done it. I believe free speech isn't selective. Say what you want, but you can be judged for it. And the only comments, whether I agreed with them or not, that I refused to automatically approve were ones on Kris's comments on my video. Because there were so many, I thought, oh my goodness, she will be spammed. We're talking hundreds of people trying to reply directly to Kris via her comment in my video. So I didn't approve any of them. If people replied to her comment and the AI didn't flag it, then yeah, Kris got an alert. But the ones the AI decided to step in on, I thought, hey, I'll be nice. I'll act as a little bit of a filter. A lot of what people were saying was really nasty. So it got to the point where I don't even read them. If the replies directed at Kris, I just don't approve them now, because there are so many. But it just kept on happening. So I went back and read Kris's actual comments to me, which I will whack up here right now. And now, being 2 days out from Kris saying this to me, I read this with a slightly different lens. And I made a video basically explaining that and sharing how I now felt. Knowing what happened in the interim and finding out how she was behaving in other people's comment sections and her own comment section, I recorded this video.
I know it may seem like lots of creators right now are jumping on this KallMeKris hate bandwagon, and I would just like to say from the bottom of my heart that I built the bandwagon. These two hands were a part of building the momentum that is now sweeping through Spicy BookTok, and that KallMeKris is perfectly aware of. And I know this to be true because KallMeKris saw and engaged with my content before making a wave of amends to her video on YouTube, unlisting, apologising, etc, etc. So I posted yesterday about how I felt I had affected some change, and I spoke up, called out problematic behaviour for what it was, and was listened to. Now, in my video accepting KallMeKris's general apology, lots of people informed me that they couldn't accept the apology, which it's totally their right to do, because of the way Kris had been behaving in people's comment sections. While I haven't seen what Kris has been up to in everyone else's comment sections, I can see what she was up to in mine. Specifically in the first initial reaction video I made to Kris's YouTube video back before this blew up. The video that prompted this blowing up. So I thought, hey, I'll go back and see, because I got so laser focused on trying to articulate what the issues were, educate around the misogyny expressed in that video, preaching grace and forgiveness when I felt it was appropriate, that I never properly thought about what it was Kris said to me in the comments of my video. Because when you comment on someone's video, that's what you're doing. You're talking to them, not the other people in the comments. If she'd been replying to other comments on the video, then she'd have been talking to those people. But Kris's comments are directly on my content, so they are messages to me. And now that it's been a couple of days, and I'd heard what other people were saying about how she'd been behaving in comments, I chose to go back and read mine, now that there was a bit of distance. Now that I'd gone through this whole acceptance and grace era, I'm really not happy. Because this time, I looked at it as I would if this comment had been made to someone else, if it had been made to, say, my friend. Because like many women, I'm inclined to perhaps take myself a little less seriously than I would someone else. So I looked at this comment as if it had been made to one of my friends who'd made the kind of video I did. Because my video was me very upset that a creator I really liked made a video just being nasty about people like me. Here is what KallMeKris said to me when she saw my video and before she started amending her own YouTube content, the title, actually chopping bits out of her video, and then writing what I considered to be an incredibly condescending pinned comment on that video. Her pinned comment on her YouTube video, which has since been unlisted, but you can go find it, is in response to this content, okay? In terms of the timeline, Kris made her YouTube video, I made the video these comments are on, she wrote this, and then went and started making amends to her video, to her content out there, and wrote her pinned comment. So Kris said, I went into a full analysis of why I think people read these books and why I understand why they do and why I even read them. I'm not pro rape, abuse, grooming, even if it's fictional. That's my opinion, and if you have a different opinion, that's fine. it's a free country. Now, the reason I'm reading this in a different light now is because in my video, I wouldn't say I'm nasty, I'm just negative, and I'm calling out how I feel, how this content creator made me feel as, you know, one of the people basically ripping into in her video. And in response to seeing me genuinely upset, talking about the behaviour and what I was inferring from it and expressing how I was going to unfollow her. I didn't tell anyone else to unfollow her. It wasn't a rallying cry for trolling. I made a really emotional video about how her content made me feel. And this is how she chose to speak to me directly, because that's what this is. And I don't think it's out of line for me to say. I think KallMeKris was mean to me because I'm now choosing to treat myself like I would a friend who had this happen to them. And I am angry on my own behalf now, which I wasn't before. I took everything KallMeKris did in good faith. I told people that I thought she was doing what she did out of total ignorance, and if she was informed of the issues, hopefully she would learn from what is a genuine mistake. And her apology video, I accepted. I said, do you know what? This I think is okay. What I haven't had in any capacity an apology for is her directly coming to my content and being nasty to me. Oh, so you were offended, you were upset. Too bad. I was just expressing my opinion. You're totally right to share an opinion, but the moment you know you've upset somebody, shouldn't you go, oh, you know, I stand by what I'm said, but I'm so sorry that you felt this way. I wasn't taking the mick out of you. This creator actively came to my content. She was not tagged. I used the hashtag KallMeKris, but I did not tag her. I in no way tried to make this uber visible to her because I follow normal review and response practice, which is if it's going to be negative, maybe don't directly tag the original creator in it. My subsequent videos were more educational, so I felt comfortable tagging Kris in them. But that first one, she saw out, she came to me and heard what I had to say, and at that point chose to condescend to me. I read her comments as really condescending. I have oscillated within the playlist I'm going to add this in. I think I have done everything I can to rise above, to be kind when the opportunities arose. And what I see here in retrospect is an opportunity to be kind where this creator actively chose not to be and decided to condescend to me. And so people who are in my comments going, why are you so upset? This has nothing to do with you. It in fact does have everything to do with me. She spoke directly to me. She made amends and changed things. I made an apology video because of me, but she took the chance when she could, back before loads and loads of other people started mirroring my sentiment and sharing their displeasure, to just have a dig at me. She's got 11 million followers and I'm a tiny account. And that's how she chose at that point to use that power. And while I can totally respect that she has made an apology for her video and how it came across, and I've accepted that, what she hasn't apologized for is this bit of behavior. The wobble that happened as the criticism came to her. This is what I think we should judge people on, how they choose to treat others. And Kris chose to treat me in a not very nice manner. So while I've accepted her generalist apology, I would like an apology for how she spoke to me. Doubt I'm ever gonna get it. I feel like my decision to unfollow her was the right one, and at no point have I recommended anyone else do it up until now. But I want to say, if you're unfollowing her too, I support that decision. I'm not gonna ask other people to do it. If you've done it, good on you, because she's not a nice person, in my opinion.
And it is at this point that we are all caught up with what Kris has done, how I behaved in response. We've come to this point right now in the timeline. And while I think I have articulated several things very well in my short form videos up till now, I obviously have a lot to say about what's going on, how people are behaving right now, and why what Kris has done is as problematic as it is. I obviously have a lot of people debating with me and commenting on my content as it's live, it's up, and I'm not turning comments off. I know a lot of the creators whose footage was used by Kris in her video have made the decision to turn comments off, and I totally understand why. I just feel quite strongly that it's not really my place to censor debate, and I want us to be having salient conversations around the blatant misogyny that's expressed in Kris's video. And by Kris's followers since. Because the main issue is a content creator as large as Kris making videos like this, sharing these opinions, helps normalize these attitudes, and they are misogynistic. I'm not going to debate the validity of that point. It's fact. Kris makes a factually incorrect false comparison between spicy books and pornography, doubles down on that stance, is actively encouraging by liking comments that support that opinion, and never really admitting to the fact that what she says there is just wrong. I think we can split the activity of what's happened and then Kris's behaviours into slightly different pools. You have the people directly affected by what Kris has done, those whose content was used in her long-form video. And while I acknowledge that Kris is allowed, under the guise of fair use, to take people's content, I do think she should credit them as and when possible. Not necessarily by tagging them, but by citing her sources. And those Kris directly decided to comment on and watch and engage with, aka me. And then there is the broader pool of people who Kris's content is actually about. The readers of spicy books who come together and talk about what they enjoy on TikTok. I started off in one pool and now exist in the first, and it's been a lot. And there are two different elements of Kris's behaviour. There's the making of the original video, which I do think she's tried to amend or rectify in some way. I did get told that unlisting a video doesn't actually stop it being monetized, so the kudos I gave Kris for unlisting her video but still keeping it up online so that people could go and see the redacted version, kind of don't think of lies anymore. I realise now she can still make money off that video, which is a shame. But really, it's the behaviour afterwards that I don't see as justifiable. I understand sharing an opinion and standing by that opinion. Your thoughts and opinions are valid, they are yours. But Kris didn't actually say sorry for causing upset. He came into reader spaces like mine, and when given the opportunity to share grace, be nice, like I've tried to be throughout all this drama, she chose to be nasty, like consistently. And so it's her behaviours post video that I really think are the point on which she should be judged, because millions, literally millions of people pay attention to what Kris does, and I think she is setting an incredibly poor example right now. Romance books, of which spicy books are a part, is such an important literary genre. It is one of the two highest grossing literary genres in the world. Murder mysteries and romance books keep the publishing industry alive. They are the books people are reading. And whether people like to admit it or not, the vast majority of readers are women. Women are more likely than men to read books by women, and they are just as likely, if not sometimes more likely, to read books by men than men are. Publishing as an industry is funded, run, and contributed to by mostly women. It has become a bastion for the queer community and minority groups to express themselves. And I understand people who don't read romance can't wrap their head around why people are so upset. But perhaps it's because they aren't reading enough that they're struggling to empathise with opinions other than their own. That's what books help us do. I don't think it's crazy for me to say those that are well read do have an easier time digesting perspectives and opinions other than their own. And non-readers not understanding why readers feel the way they do makes sense. They're allowed to do that, but what's not happening right now is listening. And you should certainly be able to debate points without being nasty. Over the last few days, people who agree with Kris's sentiments have called me fat, have called me ugly, and I'm lucky I've got thick skin. This isn't the first time people online have said nasty things about me. It's just been at scale this time, and that's because of Kris. I acknowledge that making a video about the content is what started the ball rolling in the direction it's gone. But Kris, this massive macro creator, coming to content like mine, behaving the way that she did and drawing attention to me and articulating, I disagree with you, you are wrong. I think if you disagree with me, that you are pro these truly, truly awful things, that she has greenlit other people doing exactly the same. And that's why the Spicy BookTok community are so upset and so angry. Because intentional or not, Kris has made behaviours like that permissible. What people within the Spicy BookTok community are seeing is behaviour just like that. That Kris has exemplified, and basically, she's led by example. And now more and more people think it's okay to articulate things that are factually incorrect things that are incredibly bigoted, and behaviours that are really, really nasty. I'm trying not to get too emotional, but this is obviously a subject I care a great deal about, even not in regards to myself. My degree is in English literature. I am a proud romance reader. I value the safe space romance as a genre creates for readers. To be a romance novel, a book has to have a romance story at its core, and the couple have to end up together. They have to have their happily ever after for a book to be a romance novel. That means you can explore a whole range of themes. You can go to the absolute extremes of human emotion. Romance is a great space for genuine catharsis. Nothing has made me cry the way that some romance novels have. They help you process incredibly dark areas because there is always a guarantee of a happy ending. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's quite literally a safety net underneath everything romance is allowing you to experience because of the promise made to you as a reader that the ending is going to be okay. How often in this world full of so many negative things, full of so many hardships, full of so much horrible stuff, can we find somewhere that promises us that? That's what romance gives to romance readers. Open door, closed door, it doesn't matter. That's the promise of that literary genre. And it matters. The fact that it is written mainly by women, for mainly women, does not make it an invalid, inconsequential pastime that it's okay for people to take the mick out of. There are so few things in this world women get to genuinely enjoy. They aren't just ripped into and mocked for loving. And that is why people are so upset. And I don't think Kris understands the harm that she's done. She's allowed to voice opinions. She's allowed to review books. But there are certain ways we behave when we're doing so that Kris simply didn't follow, and she hasn't really apologised for basically breaking some very core tenets of literary review best practice. You can critique books, you can critique the people that write books, you can critique the people that publish and market books, but what you cannot do is criticise readers of those books. Because people read for a whole range of reasons, and I am seeing within the comment sections of my own content some really, really bigoted, unacceptable takes. Some statements being made about readers that it is really hard to read because of how casualised and normalised those attitudes are. It's sexist. It's misogynistic. It's not okay. It's genuinely hateful, a lot of the stuff I'm reading right now. And that has all come because Kris created problematic content and put it online for millions and millions of people to consume. I obviously feel very strongly about spicy books, non-spicy romance books, romance in general. I am a out and proud romance reader. I am a romance rep from Mills and Boon, one of the world's oldest romance literary imprints. I am proud to be part of a largely female literary legacy and be playing a part in normalising, taking joy in something that is truly joyful. Romance as a genre is a hub of hope and safety and support. And I do have to say that the way this community came together and embraced me and has supported me, that's what I'm choosing to laser in on, because if I focus on basically the whole Kris side of this drama, I really will start losing faith in humanity. Because people think it's a little thing. A little tiny, it's one video, it's a few comments, but it's not that. These are all rocks and pebbles put on the mountain of negative tripe these online troglodytes think it's okay to say about us as a community. Do I think anything's going to change? Probably not. Probably not. But it would be wrong to just take this line down. I am proud to have called Kris out because I stand by what I've said. She punched down. She made fun of something that she has no real understanding of. And in doing so, mocked, criticised and perpetuated some really misogynistic, hateful, nasty attitudes that I think have no place on the internet. You can feel free to disagree with me, but there is an art to debate that is now getting lost. People believe everything must be totally binary and that the only opinions that matter are these extreme, sweeping, ballooning statements. When most topics of discussion have nuance, there is so much remit for that here. I'm glad that romance books and spicy romance books are on the agenda, that we are talking about them, and I'm going to choose to laser in on that rather than focus in on the fact that so many people think it's okay to act and behave in the way that they are. Let's just be nice. It's what romance is all about, and it's a shame that people like Call Me Kris perhaps don't appreciate how important that is to some of us. The belief that things can be better. The sad thing is everyone is just lasering on spice. Sex scenes are such brilliant ways to articulate themes of power and autonomy and pleasure and expression. Spicy books are a brilliant means of conveying so many things that women struggle to articulate and live in their day-to-day lives. I think spice in books can be beautifully written, incredibly symbolic, wonderfully powerful, and I feel so sorry for people who can't see that, who are so distracted by nudity and sexual gratification that they remain up on that surface level, because they'll never get to experience the things that romance readers do as they're reading those books. Plenty of books will have gratuitous sex scenes, but so will so many TV shows. They are the equivalents of each other. Spicy books aren't pornography. Erotica is, and that is something I'm going to keep saying until the day I die. So yeah, that if you take anything from this video, I hope it's that. I know this has been a long one, but thank you so much for watching. I will happily speak more about romance books, and about books in general to you all. If you haven't seen me before, I would really appreciate you liking this video. Please comment what it is you're feeling right now below. And if you could, I would love it if you'd subscribe to this channel. As you can see, I am a tiny minnow out in this massive ocean, and it's great to have met you. That's a positive I'm going to take out of this, that I've got the chance to meet you today and speak to you and show you who I am, and I hope that you like it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all later, alligators. Goodbye for now.